Uh, this is the vlog for uh, November 14th, 2018. And having just said that, I realized that I was a day behind. I thought today was the 13th. Today is the 14th. And unfortunately, that means that it is also the day that Die Hard was being shown in theaters, which I thought was tomorrow, and I have thusly missed it. Probably just as well. Um, I haven't done my writing again today. I found that it actually was pretty easy to do last night in the evening, so I'm going to keep trying to do that for a little bit. Um, Hopefully, I get gripped by the writing and start ideas will start coming more easily to me. But in the meantime, I'm going to talk about this little thing. This looks like a Lamborghini, a late model Lamborghini. Specifically, these vents on the side are very similar, if a little bit more pronounced, than on the Lamborghini Aventador. But this is not a Lamborghini. It is, in fact, a Transformer, as evidenced by the Autobot symbol on the hood. And because it's a red Lamborghini Transformer, that makes it obligatorily the character named Sideswipe. Sideswipe is a character who died recently in the IDW comics that are now coming themselves to an end. So his death is going to be a lot less lonely, a little bit. In fact, I think the final issues of the comics may have already been released. Much like the death of a big celebrity, I'm sort of taking it with mixed feelings. In fact, I think the cancellation of the Transformers comic has affected me on a more emotional level than the death of Stan Lee. Stan Lee, the world is sadder for his passing. He was a great man with a lot of great ideas, but he had a long run. He had a long life full of adventures, ups and downs, but he lived it fully and he embraced people and being open and welcoming of people and saying things that might not have been socially acceptable at the time, but history has proven he was sort of ahead of his curve anyway. But the Transformers comic was something that I had latched onto with great interest, and the fact that I don't have that anymore to look forward to, whatever they replace it with is going to be different, if they even replace it at all, means that these toys have lost some of their meaning. And in fact, given that I'm currently unemployed, not making any steady income, I should not be purchasing such things. But I've seen reviews for these online, and for one thing, Sideswipe is a character I've had a lot of trouble with. He's a quintessential cool character. He's too cool to be an Autobot almost. He's a warrior without peer. The only one who comes close is his brother Sunstreaker, and he has the distinct distinction of being voiced by the same guy who does Megatron and the Smurfs and Apu the monkey from Aladdin and the Cave of Wonders from Aladdin, and a host of other voices. Frank Welker. Sideswipe himself sounds a little bit like Frank Welker's character on Scooby-Doo, which was not Frankie. Frank. Is it Frank? I don't know. The guy in the white sweater. Sideswipe sort of had the same tone, a little bit more full of himself. Freddie, that was his name. Freddie. Started with an F. I was close. But yeah, Sideswipe figures. Most people watching this probably aren't aware that I had a short-lived, it's still there technically, sub-channel devoted to collecting figures called Senpai Prime, where I sort of looked over the engineering that went into these little things. And I'd picked up a knockoff of the masterpiece Lambor, aka Sideswipe. Lambor is what they call them in Japan. And I'm going to be honest, that knockoff was $30 or $40, and this figure right here was about 24, and is much, much, much nicer. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles that the masterpiece one had, but for starters, I can wiggle it and the chest doesn't come undone. Now the chest isn't super locked in there. It will slide open if I move it, but yeah, I couldn't hold that other figure upside down without the whole front end just drooping down like that. And it looks like Sideswipe. I mean, I don't know if anybody reading this or watching this, rather, not reading. I don't know if anybody watching this is a fan of Transformers, but that's Sideswipe. That's what Sideswipe looked like back in the 80s. His car mode's a little bit more futuristic than the Lamborghini Countach that he originally turned into. But that's Sideswipe. I mean, the black fronts of his legs, the silver feet that are sort of flat. The hood of the car is the chest, white arms, black hands. And the head is most definitely, I love the little reflective blue paint on his eyes. It's really fantastic. So, I hold in my hands a dead man. The way Sideswipe finally met his end in the comics was so poignant that it's almost like they were saying goodbye to making Transformer comics in general. I wonder if they knew when they penned that particular issue if the whole thing was eventually going to come to a close. Writing media at that level has always got to be a little bit problematic. That's funny. The way these cameras work, I don't think they can physically look at the keyboard itself. I was trying to tilt it down to get Sideswipe in the frame, but that's just not going to happen. A lot of television programs get canceled on a whim before the writers have a chance to really build up to an ending that suits the series. And even the ones that do sort of see their own end coming sometimes have a great deal of trouble putting to closure what they've worked so hard on. And that sort of Transformers feels like it's halfway there. Like, it feels like some of the books that they were writing knew what was coming and were prepared for it, and some didn't. Prophetically, the More Than Meets the Eye series that later became Transformers Lost Light, the writer was once asked, what are you going to do when you get to issue 88? Because apparently issue 88 was when the Transformers comic Marvel made was canceled. And James Roberts had responded with, I actually have something in mind for that issue and that occurrence, should that actually happen. And as it turns out, it's pretty close to 88, if not exactly issue 88, which is the end of that series. I don't like thinking about the ends of things, the ends of lives, the ends of things that we enjoy. I am blessed in that while so many things that I care about are coming to an end, many things are having new beginnings. Like my sister, who is still expecting. I think in a couple of days they're just going to induce labor to make sure that the baby doesn't come way too late. We've been joking that her daughter is going to take after her mother because my sister is punctually challenged, shall we say. Although I think she arrived right within a few days of her due date. I, on the other hand, was not. I can't remember if I was early or what. But I know there were apparently some complications during my birth. The doctor thought that the umbilical cord got wrapped around my neck, and they were worried I was going to get strangled. But I'm fine, I guess. least none of the physical problems I have anything to do with being strangled in the womb. Leave it at that. Anyway, I don't want to talk about anything this dark anymore. It's just depressing. So I'm just going to say I'm Eric Spornitz, and tomorrow will be better.